All right, so Reddit, huh? Seems like everyone's talking about what the heck is going on over there.
Yeah, lots of buzz, especially after that whole thing with Huffman's AMA.
And then those Q4 earnings reports too, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely some big changes on the horizon for Reddit. It's kind of wild.
Paid subreddits,
Yeah.
monetizing user interactions, you name it. We've got a lot to unpack here, so buckle up.
Yeah, it's a real turning point, I think. I mean, you know Reddit, right? It's always been that free, user-driven kind of place.
Right.
But now, well, it's almost like we're heading into uncharted territory.
You think this could be the beginning of the end for like free and open online communities as we know them?
I mean, it's a valid concern, right?
Yeah.
It's not hard to see why Reddit's interested in this stuff, though, you know? Paid subreddits could mean exclusive content, maybe a more focused experience for people who are willing to pay a little extra.
Maybe even better discussions with less spam and noise.
Exactly. And obviously there's the whole revenue angle, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just for Reddit itself, but potentially for creators, too, which is an interesting wrinkle.
Okay, but how do we make sure those creators actually get a fair deal?
Right.
And what about the moderators? I mean, those folks are the backbone of Reddit, right? They keep things running smoothly.
A lot of them are volunteers, too.
Are they going to be expected to manage these paid communities as well?
It's a logistical nightmare waiting to happen, if you ask me. And it's not just the practical stuff, either. It raises some pretty big ethical questions.
Like what?
Well, what happens to the free subreddits? Do they just become ghost towns? Does Reddit become this kind of tiered system where you got to pay to play in the best communities?
And what about the average user? I mean, a lot of people are drawn to Reddit because it's free and open, you know.
Right.
And that starts to disappear. I'm not sure what happens to the whole spirit of the platform. All right, serious question. What if your favorite subreddit, the one you check every single day, suddenly slapped a paywall on you?
Ooh, good question.
What would it take to make you actually pay for it? What would make that worthwhile?
That's a tough one. I mean, I guess Reddit does already have R Lounge, which you need Reddit Gold to access.
That's their paid membership thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the model they're looking at for the future.
Interesting. I feel like we're seeing this kind of thing popping up all over the place online.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Patreon, YouTube Premium. Everyone's trying to figure out how to do this paid tier thing, right?
Yeah, it's a real trend. Platforms are looking for ways to monetize, especially when user-generated content is such a big part of what they do. And, you know, for Reddit, it's not just about paid communities. They're also looking at how to make money from the way users interact within subreddits.
Like Huffman talking about making money when users buy or sell stuff within the subreddits themselves.
Exactly.
It's almost like they want to build a marketplace right into the threads. I mean, he even specifically mentioned our watches change.
Where people are buying and selling watches. Yeah.
Seems like they want to formalize that and get a cut of the action.
Makes you wonder if that's going to change the whole vibe of those communities, though.
Right.
I mean, are we going to see a shift from people just chatting and sharing to constantly trying to sell each other stuff?
Is Reddit turning into another online shopping mall?
It's a legitimate concern, for sure. Yeah, it kind of feels like that sometimes, doesn't it? Like everything's becoming so transactional.
Well, and it's not just the buying and selling thing. We got to talk about those API changes Reddit made recently.
Oh, yeah, that whole fiasco.
Basically shut down a bunch of third-party apps, which means Reddit's even more reliant on their own apps and website for ad revenue.
Which makes sense from a business perspective, I guess. But
yeah,
it definitely impacts the user experience.
And they're not messing around either. They're already testing ads in the comments.
Yeah, about 3% of the inventory right now, but that's just the beginning.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, their COO even mentioned something about contextual advertising being a big part of their plan moving forward.
So more ads everywhere.
Pretty much.
Ugh. It's like the same story with all the social media platforms these days. Are we just going to be drowning in ads forever?
It's a good question. It does seem to be the trend.
It makes you wonder what we're even willing to put up with anymore.
Right.
Like, how much are we willing to sacrifice just to have free access to these platforms?
Are we okay with our online experience becoming more and more commercialized? I don't know. It's a tough one.
And then there's the whole thing with Reddit's financial situation, right?
Right.
They made a profit in Q4, but they missed their user growth targets.
Which kind of suggests these new monetization strategies are about more than just making money.
They need to boost user engagement, too.
Exactly. They're trying to attract new users and keep the lights on at the same time.
That's got to be a tough balancing act.
It is. And these changes, paid subreddits, the marketplace thing, all the ads, it's all part of that balancing act.
But it feels kind of risky, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
What if they alienate the core users, the people who made Reddit what it is in the first place?
It's definitely a gamble, and it kind of makes you wonder, is this what the future holds for all online communities?
Are we heading towards a world where everything's behind a paywall or just plastered with ads?
It's kind of unsettling to think about.
It is. But maybe, just maybe, there's a way to find some kind of middle
I
ground.
hope so.
A way to make these platforms sustainable without completely ruining the experience for users.
It'll be interesting to see how Reddit handles all this.
Yeah.
Whatever they decide to do, it'll probably have ripple effects across the whole online community landscape.
So what do you think this means for us, the users? What should we be watching out for as these changes start to roll out?
I think the most important thing is to pay attention,
Pay attention to what?
to how Reddit's actually implementing these changes and to how it's affecting the community. Like, do paid subreddits actually offer something better? Does the market think feel intrusive, or does it actually work? Are the ads getting out of control?
We need to be aware of all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
and speak up if we're not happy.
Exactly.
It feels like we're at this crossroads.
Yeah.
The future of Reddit, maybe even the future of online communities in general, is up in the air right now.
It's a real turning point, and the choices that Reddit makes in the next few months, the next few years, they're going to have a huge impact on how we connect with each other online, how we share stuff, how we interact. It's a big deal.
It really does feel like the whole internet's watching, waiting to see what happens next.
Yeah, it's like Reddit's become this, I don't know, this test case for the future of online communities.
So if Reddit does go all in on this stuff, you think other platforms will follow?
I mean, it's possible, right? Reddit's always been kind of a pioneer in the social media world.
So is there anything we as users can actually do to influence these changes? Or are we just kind of stuck watching from the sidelines?
I don't think we're powerless. I think the most important thing is to stay informed and to stay engaged.
Like how?
Pay attention to what Reddit's doing, see how they're implementing these changes, and really think about how it's affecting the community. Like, do paid subreddits actually deliver on their promises? Does the marketplace thing feel natural, or is it just annoying? Are the ads becoming a total nightmare?
We need to ask ourselves these questions.
Exactly, and we need to speak up if we don't like what we see.
So it kind of feels like we're being asked to make a choice, doesn't it?
In a way, yeah.
Do we accept a more commercialized online experience in exchange for convenience and access? Or do we fight to keep the internet free and open, even if it means things might look a little different?
It's a tough question. There are good arguments on both sides, I think. But at the end of the day, the future of these online communities is going to be shaped by the choices that both users and platforms make.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, a lot to think about. What are the big takeaways you'd want our listener to walk away with?
I think the biggest thing is that Reddit's at a crossroads. The decisions they're making right now about paid subreddits, about monetizing user interactions, about all these ads, it's going to have a huge impact, not just on Reddit itself, but potentially on the whole online community landscape.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's a time for users to really think about how they want to participate in all this.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. The future of Reddit, maybe even the future of the internet as we know it, it's being written right now. What role are you going to play in shaping that future? Feedy 13, $2,000.